unprepared.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to RTF Sports Talk. We are back after a little bit of a holiday hiatus. In the words of Bill Belichick, on the New Year's. I'm your host here, Matthew Lau, joined by Grand Jefe, Buck Nasty the Fourth. How are we doing, gentlemen? Did we have a great holiday?
Yeah, we had a pretty good holiday over here, this side of the world. A little sluggish, though, from my days being off. Ready to get back.
Very sluggish. Very sluggish. I feel like I've been hibernating for 16 days. What about you, Mr. Buck Nasty?
Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year besides Halloween, so, man, like, I can't ask for much more, but I am lucky to be blessed by you guys here and the lovely voices that I'm hearing, so I'm ready to get it started and root for the Chiefs all the way to the Super Bowl.
Look, I appreciate that statement altogether, but like there were just parts of it that didn't make sense. Like you saying that Christmas is the greatest time of the year, I'm all there for it.
Besides Halloween,
then you comparing it to Halloween is like saying filet mignon is one of the greatest steaks out there, except for bologna. Like I don't quite get the comparison.
How can you dish Halloween like that? I mean, you get candy, you get to scare kids, and not have to worry about going to jail.
That's a good thought right there.
First off, Halloween doesn't throw out all the parameters. You can still can't find yourself in jail. So let's pump the brakes there, Buck Nasty.
I absolutely love putting up my haunted house every year, guys. So love it.
Halloween is the Dallas Cowboys of holidays.
Okay. So you're talking about Super Bowl champs?
Overrated. Everybody gets all excited for nothing. Halloween is the Dallas Cowboys of holidays.
Shots fired.
Speaking of Dallas Cowboys and other like teams, we're rounding up, guys. We're here. Week 17 is approaching. Playoffs are right around the corner. We don't have any games to predict. We're not going to recap any games from last week. Give me your thoughts. Give me your things that jump out to you, your surprises, your disappointment, your concerns, your excitement as this playoff picture starts to come together and we start sculpting the 2018 NFL playoffs. What say you, Billy?
Well, my biggest surprise is really that the Kansas City Chiefs really came out at the start of the season. None of us really thought that, outside of maybe Mike, because he's a fan of the team. Nobody really thought that the Kansas City Chiefs would be as good as they are. The Dallas Cowboys actually won the NFC East. That's something to be surprised about, especially how the Redskins started out. At one point, the Redskins had a 3-point lead a 3-game lead on everybody else in that division. And then the injury bug hit them, and then they started going down. So, for me, honestly, the biggest takeaway, the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl, the Ravens actually in control of the AFC North with Lamar Jackson at the helm. I believe they won 6 of their last 7 or 5 of their last 6 with Lamar Jackson, looking to improve that and get to the playoffs. And the Steelers are out of the playoffs. I don't – Matthew, I will say this. My Browns are 1 win away from that 8-win mark that we talked about at the beginning of the season that you said was impossible. But right there in prime position right now.
Still won't get it. Baltimore needs it more. Mike, what jumps out of you?
Well, just to add to what Mr. Jefe said there, I was not on that Kansas City train at all this season. If you guys remember correctly, I believe I picked Oakland to win that AFC West, and I actually had them losing to the Chargers and I forgot who they played week 2 there, but I definitely picked them going 0-2 to start the season because I did not have faith in Patrick Mahomes. But the takeaway so far this season is the strange fact that the Patriots can still get a number 1 overall seed, home field advantage with a Kansas City loss and with a Charger loss. Somebody else has to lose. I forget who it is, but
No, that's it. Just those two.
Well,
they have to win. New England would have to win.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
yeah.
But after all this talk that they're saying like Tom Brady is done, Father Time has caught up to him, the Patriots are a first round exiting team. After all that talk, you still look at it, they still have a chance for a number 1 overall seed, home field advantage in the AFC playoffs, and you just don't want to face them at home in the playoffs in December, in early January. You just don't want to do it. So that's my biggest takeaway so far in this season, is that no matter how much we have dogged the Patriots and Tom Brady, etc., they still have a chance to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC and still make it to the Super Bowl and win six rings.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that's something as a fan I'm excited about, and it's crazy to know that 11-5 is one of the worst seasons Tom Brady has had, at least in the last decade, and the fact that that could potentially bounce out in his favor. There's a pretty good chance he's going to get that 2 seed as long as he takes care of business versus the Jets. There's a slight chance. I don't think Kansas City is going to stumble in Oakland, so that one still makes me a little nervous. But
Oakland's playing well as of late, though.
Seed. So that makes me kind of excited as a fan. Some of the shocks that really, as we sit here in playoffs, the fact that a couple teams just won't go away. The Ravens, I mean, I'm going to go on record. I pronounced them done a couple weeks ago. Pesky little things won't go away. Me and Mike did a show solo one time Billy was out, that I thought once the Vikings lost to the Seahawks, they would be gone. They're still flying around like a fly in the ointment.
Somehow, some
So
way.
a couple of teams that I thought would just go and lay down once adversity hit are still kind of hovering around. And that kind of, even tonight, I don't know, haven't looked, Miami Dolphins might be mathematically eliminated, but even as long as they're done, hung around, they're done. But even to last until to remain relevant to week 15 or 16 caught me off guard. I thought once week 10 came, once we got through for October, I thought they would be done. And for them for this team to have adversity and hang around, and I think there's actually a connection between that being the case and how the Patriots still have a shot at that number 1 spot. Because if I look at the rest of that AFC, not a whole lot of experience going on there. I mean, when you think AFC experience, you think Big Ben. They may not even be in the playoffs. I look at Lamar Jackson. I look at even Kansas City. They are kind of starting to hit that. What's their record on the stretch, Mike? Aren't they like 3-3 or something along those lines?
We've lost 2 in a row for sure.
2 in a row. So,
yeah.
I mean, just some things like that. Just the way that, to Mike's point, that the Patriots are in the thick of things, that some of these other teams are still in the thick of things, really surprised me. My biggest disappointment has to be the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm only saying this merely as a Dallas Cowboy hater. The fact that I'm not giving Dallas Cowboys credit for winning that division. I'm putting blame on the Philadelphia Eagles for not taking care of business and getting that division won.
Well, how can you put a blame on the Eagles when they've kind of been on the outside, peeking in the whole season?
You're returning Super Bowl champ. You win the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, and you get your starter back. That's a letdown.
Well, let's go ahead and put that starter in quotation marks, because I don't think he'll be a starter anymore.
That's why it's disappointing to me.
Yeah.
And you look at if the Dallas Cowboys took that record to any other division, they wouldn't win any other division.
How?
Most divisions they wouldn't even be in the top 2.
They would be alive in that Steelers division.
Well, that one, but
they would be a wild card team in the NFC, or say they were in the Bears division. They would be a wild card team.
I mean, not every division gets a wild card team, so no, you couldn't say that.
Well, but their overall record would
because based on record right now, they have a half game lead over the Minnesota Vikings, because the Vikings have tie at 8-6-1, and the Cowboys are at 9-6. So mathematically, they have the more wins that get there. I'm not really as surprised about the Eagles as you are. I wasn't high on them once I also heard Carson Wentz was trying to rush his way back, because that's really what it was. He know how well Nick Foles played. He heard all the rumblings. What should they do with Nick Foles? Should they start him and all this other stuff? Should he be the guy going forward? And I think he rushed himself back way too early. And I think Carson Wentz might have cost the Eagles a playoff berth. That's just my opinion. I think had Nick Foles stayed at the helm long enough, let Carson Wentz return fully healthy, not just, oh, I feel good to go out there. I'm a trick the doctors into letting me go because I'm Carson Wentz. I think had he just waited his time, know that you're the guy, be secure in who you are, I think the Eagles would be sitting in a better spot right now, and we'll be talking about something different other than the Minnesota Vikings needing to lose in order to get the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs.
Well, Mr. Grand Hefe, let me stop you right there. Maybe this was the plan all along. Maybe they just wanted to stave Foles for the last 2 weeks of the season, sneak into the playoffs, get that 6th seed, and then make that.
That doesn't make any sense though.
Well, like,
Yeah.
well,
I mean, he's
if you think about
silly,
this,
but
well,
that's absurd.
if you think about this, if the Eagles sneak into the playoffs, they are going to play who are they going to play? They would play the Chicago Bears more than likely unless the Rams lose. So the Eagles can probably go into Soldier Field, beat them with a healthy Nick Foles. You know, that's played what, 3 games all year, 4 games I guess. Maybe he had 2 earlier this season.
No, I'm not saying that they can't sneak into the playoffs. I'm just saying.
Billy, what am I hearing? Wasn't the last episode we did all about how the Chicago Bears were your Foles, and Nick Foles was a scrub, and now a healthy Nick Foles is just going to walk into a weak Soldier Field and take care of the
do not
Bears?
put weak Soldier Field in my mouth.
And this is something that they had planned, that they were going to tank to get the 6th seed. Oh my! I'll be honest with you. If there was any, I don't have faith in the Chicago Bears. But if I was the Eagles and I wanted to have to, if there was one place I didn't want to have to travel, it would be to Soldier Field. If you have faith in Nick Foles, if you have faith that he can whip that ball around, you want to go to L.A. You already won there. You want to go to New Orleans or Dallas because it's a dome. You can get your offense rolling. If there's one place you don't want to go, it's Soldier Field in January. So, Mike, what are you doing? I know you're trying to stir the pot, but, hey, this was absurd. You don't put the NFL is so unpredictable. You don't want to put your hopes of a playoff into the last 2 weeks of the season. And then to sit there and say, oh, they planned this out because it works in their favor because they have to go to the Chicago Bears, which you spent like an entire segment a week ago, 2 weeks ago, talking about how they not favored to make it to the Super Bowl or however you was trying to serve that load of crap up to us? Mike, come on.
Hey, don't let them into the playoffs because they have been there, done that with Foles. If you allow them to get into the playoffs, watch out.
I will say this. Yeah, sometimes Mike. I will compare no Foles to Trent Dilfer. Yes. And that was just okay. I will say this on Mike's behalf. He had the Baltimore pick, right, for the AFC North. So far, he's had the Cowboy pick and the Bears pick. The Bears pick was a really good pick. That team turned out to be way better than what probably any of us really thought that they could be. Because even when you said it, Mike, you were kind of trolling a little bit about the Chicago Bears. But that Chicago Bears pick is a really good pick. We'll see what they do in the playoffs. See if they can win. Even though they will get a home game, I do believe the Rams will lock up that 2 seed, and the Bears will be playing a wild card weekend. So we'll see what they do.
So
they're going to get the Eagles, or they're going to get the Vikings.
I like Mike, but I'm not here to pat him on the back for anything because this man is the trolling. All this man does is trolling an absurd topic against the wall, and occasionally 1, 2, or 3 of them stick. But let's compare that, A, to the context of what you were saying, and B, other absurd things he's thrown to the wall. Yes, he was slinging that Chicago Bears are going to be good all over. But if you go back and listen, he was saying the same stuff about the Lions. He was talking about Aaron Rodgers being the GOAT. And if you look, yes, he did throw the Dallas Cowboys out. But the only time he ever brings Dallas Cowboys out is when we were saying how bad we didn't like Dallas. The Baltimore Ravens pick, he was just throwing that everywhere. And I think that was just to push his fake news agenda that he pulled out of nowhere about Lamar being on the block.
He should be.
Why would you trade up? Let me put that on. Okay, let's go to that statement then. This is how absurd Mike is. And I want the fans and the listeners and Billy to just soak all this in. This is where Mike finally gets to cash in on a right pick. It's looking like Mike's pick for the Ravens to make the playoffs is going to hold true. Mike gets to cash in on that. Pretty good chance. I don't know how many games they've lost. I don't know the record, but I know the record with Lamar Jackson, who I'm not impressed with. But
I think they've won the 5 of the last 6, I believe it was.
Exactly.
6 of the last 7, yeah.
So the guy, Lamar Jackson, since starting, one of the core reasons for Mike being right, now because it's a hot take, Mike wants to throw stuff at him. So that just shows you how Mike is all about the trolling and the hot take. The Ravens are making the playoffs, good chance to prove you right, and you're on to the next hot take that the guy that helped lead them there needs to go. What? I'm not a Lamar Jackson fan, but what?
If a quarterback can't throw, i.e. Tim Tebow, he is good for a year. He's good for five games. He's good for maybe one playoff win. But other than that, where is Tim Tebow now? He is in the AAA Yankees organization playing right field, batting .200.
It's the mess, first off. Second off, it all depends on your level of commitment. If your level of commitment is, I'm not saying he's great. Me and Billy had this discussion, but this is one thing that I think has to stop in sports. And it won't, but it has to stop in the fandom of sports. Rule number 1, anytime you get rid of anything in life, whether it be valuable or not, anytime you get rid of something, before you throw that away, you need to think, how easy is this going to be to replace? All these sports fans are really quick to throw out these quarterbacks. How easy is it going to be to replace? So you finally got a decent quarterback who's allowed your defense to be good, allowed your run game to develop. You better start thinking twice before you throw him away, because you might get stuck with the next Nate Peterman.
Hey, Peterman signed with the Raiders, so
I'll be trying to throw him away. If it was me, I'll be trying to throw him away. We've seen over and over again in this league, and I know change will happen one day, but until it does, I'm going to stick on the side of the history of it. To Mike's point, we have seen guys come in and do really, really good for a certain stretch of games. Tim Tebow had a winning record as a starting quarterback. He was way above 50, he was way above 50%, somewhere like 60, 70% as a starter. What teams, as we talked about all season long, what teams have a lot of film in this all season? Teams will have a lot of film on Lamar Jackson and what he do. Now, to Matthew's point, I wouldn't be as quick to throw him away, but I would definitely be looking for ways to get rid of him or ways to draft another quarterback so we are secure, because you're going to get rid of Joe Flacco. And the only quarterbacks you're going to have on your roster is 2 guys that run the football who could be injury prone. So for me, I'm looking for a way to get rid of them. You need a true passer, or at least a guy that can throw the ball.
And you get
Billy, let me put. I think one thing that teams have to do, to your Tim Tebow point, you are correct. But so it's a cycle. You have a player. He can be at any position. You have a player that is good at something. You take advantage of him being good at something. The other team stops it. It is on the coach and the player. I mean, it's a mutual partnership to continue to get creative with ways. Example, over the last 3 years, everybody wants to make fun of Tom Brady over the last 3 years that he loves to just do dump down to running back and little white receivers. Then why isn't every team doing this? The reason Tom Brady and them are so good at it is because, and I'm just simplifying this, game one, they'll do dump down to the right. And then when you start watching defense, when the defense starts watching tape and says, hey, we're going to take this away from him, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's one step ahead. Josh McDaniels, I'm sure, is in there too. One step ahead. We're going to dump down this way. We're going to dump down that way. Tim Tebow and Lamar Jackson, yes, I would much rather have an old gunslinger, but Tim Tebow and Lamar Jackson could have been more successful if their coaches and offensive coordinators, when defense started figuring out their A, tried to develop some sort of way of getting B. So, yes, I mean, obviously we all want Patrick Mahomes. Dude looks great out there. We all want that. But not everybody is that. So I think if you want Lamar, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a fan of Lamar Jackson. I don't like him at all. But if you're going to roll with that, it's going to take some work on the offense.
And it takes work that the Ravens are not willing to put in, I think. They have a Joe Flacco. He signed that $100 million contract. Pay the man. You need to trade. You need to trade Lamar Jackson while his iron is still hot. Right now, he is a very valuable pick. Just like what Mr. Hatton said, they won 5 of their last six games. I believe the only loss coming to the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champs here in 2019. So trade him while the iron's hot, get another first-round pick, and not for this year, but for the next year when that Oregon quarterback decides to come out, and draft him.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get a first round. That's the thing. You're not going to trade a quarterback for a first round. That's just not how the NFL works, because everybody that has a first-round quarterback and could spend it on a first-round pick and could spend it on a quarterback are too drunk and enamored with everybody coming out next year. So
there is nobody coming out. There's nobody coming out that's any good.
Oh, Dwayne Haskins is going to be coming out.
He is a mid-tier first-round pick.
No, dude. Okay, let's pretend that you're right there. You got to remember, we're not talking about our evaluations of these guys. We're talking about how the NFL gets hyped and enamored. I guarantee you, in the next 3 months, you look at a first-round mock draft, even without Justin Herbert and Oregon, you look at a mock first-round pick, you're going to see Dwayne Haskins go probably in the top 10, Will Grier go somewhere in the top 15, and then probably a third quarterback that you ain't never heard of, like Mitch Trubisky, who came out of nowhere from North Carolina. You're going to hear a third quarterback just pop up out of nowhere. And that's just how this works. They get them out in ball shorts and T-shirts at these combines, and these cats throw 100 yards, and they answer these questions right, and they have fun talking to them, and then next thing you know, the hype machine. And then just like how the real business world works, stock starts influencing things. You start hearing rumors that this team's going to trade up to get Dwayne Haskins. Well, Dwayne Haskins then goes number 3 when he should have went number 12. Well, then since he went number 3, now you got a guy that was going in the second round. You got to draft him at number 15. Next thing you know, you got 4 quarterbacks drafting the first round over panic.
I.e., 2018 NFL draft. Everybody,
it happens every year.
Once Baker went off the board at number 1, teams started trading up because they need those quarterbacks now. The quarterback is always going to be a commodity in the NFL, Mike. Whether we agree that Haskins is a mid-tier or bottom tier or whatever he is tier, guess what? There's a lot of teams that need quarterback, and there's a guy that throw for almost 4,000 yards at Ohio State University. I think he's probably going to get drafted.
So
pretty Mike, high with the teams that with bad records.
Mike, you watch much Family Guy?
Of course, greatest TV show out there.
Have you seen the episode where he goes, where they win a chance to get the boat, and he's like, "Here's a mystery box." It could, and the guy's like, "Peter's like, I want the mystery box. It could be anything. It could be a boat."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you got a little gag. That's how NFL owners are about quarterbacks. The only thing better than the somewhat proven quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen is the totally unproven but unflawed rookie quarterback that they could potentially draft. I don't know. Don't ask me why they have that thought process, but that's how that goes. I could have Lamar Jackson, who by now you've seen some ups and you've seen some downs from Lamar Jackson. Just how it is. They would rather go into the draft blindly, taking somebody and hoping he's the next Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, than taking the sure thing of Lamar, or not the sure thing, but taking what you know in Lamar Jackson. The old saying, a bird in the hand beats two in the bush. Not in the NFL, it doesn't. They'd much rather know. They'd much rather have the what if than the
That must be a really old saying because I've never heard that one before. That's a good one. I'm going to write that one down.
You've never heard a bird in the hand beats two in the bush?
No,
I never heard that either, but that's a good one.
Yeah, it basically just means take the guaranteed one bird you already have instead of trying to get the two that's already, potentially out there. But the teams aren't going to do that. The teams are going to say, hey, this Dwayne Haskins could be the next Patrick Mahomes.
So
this kid from South Dakota could be the next Josh Allen. Let's go get it.
So before we get off this NFL topic, I got a question for you two. The Browns play the Baltimore this Sunday, and like Cincinnati plays the Steelers. As a Browns fan, Mr. Billy Hatton, who would you rather have in that playoffs to win that division? Would you rather have the Steelers or the Ravens in there? And if it's the Steelers, would you, or if it's Baltimore, would you tank against that team to make sure they win that game?
No, I wouldn't tank. I would definitely make it harder on them. I mean, you have two rookie quarterbacks, so you really want to see Baker continue to grow here. So, no, I wouldn't tank, but I would much rather see Baltimore in the playoffs. Just the way that they did it. Then they turned to Lamar Jackson. I'm not a fan of him as a quarterback, but I'm a fan of him as an athlete, as a just a guy that just like watching something.
He'll be
electric.
exciting to watch.
I like seeing that. Yeah, exactly. And I just don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't like their attitude concerning Le'Veon Bell. The one thing a lot of these NFL guys always say is you don't count another man's pocket. When they're dealing with contract negotiations and all that other stuff, you keep your mouth closed if you ain't got nothing to say about it. I didn't like the way Big Ben was talking. I didn't like the way David DeCastro and is it Mike Pouncey? Which one is it, Mike or Marquise? Whichever one the Steelers have.
I think it's Mike, isn't it?
You got away with that, Pouncey.
Yeah, one of the Pouncey twins. I just didn't like that. Mike Tomlin, a lot of guys came out and they said a lot of stuff about Le'Veon. Now look where they at. I argue with Steelers fans all year long on Twitter about, James Conner this, James Conner that. They're 31st in the league in rushing. I can guarantee you if 26 was back there, they wouldn't be 31st in the league in rushing. So for me, I would rather the Baltimore Ravens get in rather than the Steelers, just so they can eat their words that week that they made somebody else and they could do it without them. So I'd rather the Baltimore Ravens.
I don't like either team. I really
Me
don't.
neither.
Like if I had my three most despised teams would probably be Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens. So I look at who's going to have the worst success, or who has the worst case to be successful. And I think it's Baltimore. I think if Baltimore wins, they get that 4 seed. The Chargers or the Chiefs, depending on how last week plays out, would typically go there. And I think both teams could handle Baltimore. I know Baltimore played Kansas City close, but I think especially since it looks like it will be the Chargers, I think the Chargers could go in and get a win there in playoff situation, not taking in what happened in the regular season. But if it's
it will be tough though if they get that home field.
But even then, if they get the home field, and let's just say they beat the Chiefs or the Chargers, then more than likely they'll have to end up going to the other one, Chiefs or the Chargers, whichever gets that 1 seed, or even Foxborough, and I think it fizzles out there. But the thing is, the thing with the Steelers, when you got Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Big Ben, I mean, they played some good teams close. I mean, there was some controversy going down to losing to the Saints. They had a great shootout with the Chiefs. They did end up beating the Patriots. They had the Chargers beat, but let that slip away. Let's just say they get in there at that 4 seed. And then the Chargers have to come back to them. I could easily see the Pittsburgh beating the Chargers. Then Pittsburgh has to go to Foxborough or has to go to the Chiefs. I think they could win that. I think Ben has that experience. It gets kind of scary. Then once you get Big Ben and Mike Tomlinson in the AFC Conference Championship, I just don't want to risk them being successful. So if I had to pick, I think Baltimore's likelihood to fizzle out sooner than Pittsburgh. So I'm rooting for the Ravens. Yeah.
and like
Well, I'm rooting for my Browns. We better win. We get to that 8-win mark. So, I have a lot riding on that 8 wins that I projected in the offseason. So, let's go, Dog Pound.
Well, like I really want to get a call. Give me 1 second, y'all. That was weird. All right, so my bad. I think that was my job calling. But in the end, so let's just say in some crazy way, the Kansas City Chiefs lose and the Chargers lose. The Patriots get that first overall seed. Houston gets 2, and Kansas City gets 3. Steelers bump up to that fourth seed. So and like let's say the Steelers they will play the Chargers in that first round. Let's say they win. And then you have a Tom Brady versus Ben Roethlisberger divisional championship game. That's must-see TV, I think. Don't you guys agree with that?
Not if you're a Patriots fan, you don't. If I'm a Patriots fan, I want them to get the number 1 seed. I want the Colts to beat the Chiefs. Then I want to play probably the Ravens in the first in that divisional round. And then in the wild card, I wouldn't mind somehow playing the Titans or the Colts. And maybe the Texans, and then I want to go to the Super Bowl versus the worst team in there. Like, no, if you're a fan of your team, you want the easiest route. I don't care what nobody says. I mean, if
I'm not talking about the easiest route, but like as a Patriots fan, are you scared of the Steelers in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, scared in the playoffs is a little bit different, but if I can get over here, somebody told me all you gotta do is walk across the street and there's $1 million over there. You'll walk across that street and get $1 million. But if somebody say, yeah, there's a pit full of whatever that you're scared of right here, all you gotta do is just go over there and get $1 million. Like, why would I take that route when I can just walk across that street and even nothing?
Even though pride.
Even though for me and you, Mike, that might be more
pride.
It would be pride. Pride is holding up that 6th Super Bowl ring.
Exactly.
Look, Tom Brady has pretty much proven, as a fan of Tom Brady, he's pretty much proven everything wrong. Ever doubted wrong. Came in the starter, won the Super Bowl. He was down 28-3, won the Super Bowl. Did this, won the Super Bowl. Really, at this point, all he's doing is collecting trophies. He's already proven everything. So if he can get one or two, if he can get 1 or 2. If he, let's just say for a second he gets 2 more, and I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just pretend. And the first one this year, he actually puts up good numbers, but it's versus crap competition. And then next year, he gets a really good defense, and then almost plays like that Peyton Manning role from 2000 and I want to say 15 or 16.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that because his legacy's already proven. It's just kind of handicapping the game. You got a 42-year-old quarterback. You kind of want him to go the easiest route.
Why does everything got to go?
Yeah, I agree. As a fan, I want my team to go through the easiest route. Even as a player, let's be honest. Who really wants to work harder? Like you welcome the competition. Like we don't mind playing anybody. But if we really had a choice at it, I guarantee you, in their head, these players are thinking, "Man, I wish we could play this team instead of playing this team." Not that you're scared. It's just, why would I want to do that if I don't have to?
You're right. 100%.
All right. Well, that's a lot of the NFL talk. We're going to move in a little bit to the NBA segment of the show. We've been talking about it, guys. We've been talking. Me and Billy was really on a point for saying this. We don't want to hear NBA till Christmas time at the earliest. So Christmas came and went. Here we are, NBA. What's your guys' what's the temperature in the room right now? What's your pulse on the NBA standings? What's your thought? Just kind of how you feeling at this point, which I think should be the true start of the NBA season. But kind of what's your thoughts there, Billy and Mike?
Go ahead, Billy.
Mike, you want to take this one first, or you want to go first?
Sure. I got it here. So my take so far is that Western Conference, this has kind of become must-see TV in the last month or so. Like I believe there are 14 teams still in competition for those 8 playoff spots here, except for the Suns because they're just horrible. But this is the most teams that have been in competition or in conversation for those 8 playoff seeds for the first time since I think it was 2004 or 2005 when they had 13 teams still in like the quote unquote hunt of it. I mean, yes, all teams are still in the hunt. I mean, the Suns can go on a the 30-game tear here and win 30 of their 35 games or something like that, and be right and be right in the mix. But realistically, they're probably done. So the Western Conference as a whole, I am really gravitated to that side of the NBA. Is the Golden State Warriors here finally going to start playing like the Warriors of like old once Cousin is back and healthy? Are the LA Lakers going to finally, get over that mediocre hump that they kind of been playing with all year, even with LeBron James out for a few games here. So overall, I'm excited. I'm excited about the West because it is not what we thought it was. We would not. It is not what we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be the Rockets and the Golden State, and then everybody else, and it's proven not to be that way. And I'm really excited about that.
Well, to my point here, before Billy hops in, be careful using that term "we" with the Houston Rockets, because I thought they were going to miss the playoffs. They're actually back into the playoff run, but I'm not too concerned about it. I will give you some credit there, Mike. The playoffs in the West, I'm looking at the standings. I mean, your 14th seed right now, your 14th place is the Pelicans. I mean, they were a nice little playoff team last year, even without Boogie Cousins. So I think there are some interesting things. I wouldn't know if I'd call the Lakers exactly mediocre, considering they're gelling, trying to find a team, and they're currently in the 4th spot. But I think the more takeaway,
I am calling them mediocre because after LeBron James, they have a bunch of role players. Like they have a bunch of 3-star players. They don't have any of those all-star teams or all-star players.
Exactly. So to be a 4th seed, I would say they're overachieving, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that.
But my question too, and maybe you could touch on this. I'm curious to see if, to Mike's point, is this really going to happen? Are we really going to get excitement? Because everybody's been, just like the New England Patriots, everybody's been, this is the downfall of the Warriors. They lost to the Lakers. They lost to the Raptors. They lost to this team. They're still number 1 seed in the West right now. I mean, they can, if they can hold that number 1 seed, the playoffs is an entirely different season. So are we going to get more, and you can kind of include this in your whole answer, Billy, are we going to get more of a competitive Western Conference Finals? Or is the Golden State Warriors just know what it takes to get the 1 seed, and they're just trying to stay healthy until the playoffs get here? Or actually goes ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to answer that question first.
Or not?
I'm going to answer that question first. It's not going to be close. In the Western Conference, it's not going to be close. The only team that I've said all year long is going to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors is the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's only because they have number 23. I've said this for years now. In a 1-game scenario, whatever team LeBron James play on, I will bet the house on that team because I believe in LeBron James that he could get you 1 game. Do or die for all the marbles. I'm betting on LeBron. But in a series, it's a totally different story when you're talking about somebody beating this Golden State Warriors team 4 times. Yeah, anybody can beat them 1 time. You can probably even sneak in 2 games or so in there. I just don't see many teams beating that team 4 times. Now, the surprises or whatever, I'm really surprised about Toronto. I knew that they would be good. I didn't think that they would be, scrubs or anything. But to have the best record in the NBA cleared by 3 games, I believe it is. Sitting at 26-10. Toronto Raptors is going to be a serious team to play. They can defend with Siakam, and obviously we know Danny Green can defend, and Kawhi Leonard, Ibaka, Valanciunas. This team, even Kyle Lowry, this team is really, really good. Another team that's really surprised me, and I guess I shouldn't really be too surprised because they were kind of peaking last year, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think it's going to last, obviously. Since Giannis been in the NBA, he has not won a playoff series. So that's why I'm kind of reluctant when all these guys keep calling him a top 3 player, top 5 player in the league. I don't see that. I see a guy that can't dribble. I see a guy that can't shoot. I see a guy that all he does is get in the lane because he's so long, take his 2 or 3 long steps and hang in the air, and, okay, I'm just going to lay it up off the back of the backboard. that's not going to be a recipe for success in the playoffs, which is the reason why he don't really have that much success in the playoffs. Boston is starting to come along. I wasn't expecting them to be in this 5th seed, but they're starting to push. This is going to be another tough team to play in the playoffs. You're going to have to beat them 4 times. Kyrie Irving had it going the other day on Christmas Day. I say the best point guard in the NBA. Some people call me crazy. I think Kyrie the best point guard in the NBA, and on Christmas Day he showed that.
Oh, so some of the biggest surprises on that East side, though. Look out for the Hornets. They have a proven vet on that team with Tony Parker, and they have a very young squad. So we'll watch out for the Hornets too on that East side.
I mean, I can't watch out for them because everything across it seems mediocrity. I mean, they're 16-17. They're 5-5 in the last. So it's not like they've had a rough 10-game stretch or a great 10-game. Like if you look at the Nets, don't buy that stock. So they're 9-1 in the last 10. The East is horrible until you get up the top, and I don't think the Hornets are going to be anyway in the top 5. I think there's the top 5, and then there's everybody else. And so yeah, the East is so it's like this.
And 2 of those teams are really kind of shaky when you think about it.
Right, and the East is horrible in the sense that you could call someone that Bill Gates could call someone making 6 figures a year poor. Yeah. When you're talking Bill Gates and Paul Allen and all these rich people, yeah, somebody who makes 6 figures is poor. But to other actual poor people, that's really, really good money. So the East is bad compared to the dominance that we're seeing in the West. But when you start comparing other East teams to the top of the East teams, no shot in the world. All right, one last thing. What's up?
I was just going to say there are 3 teams in the West this year that was in the playoffs last year that's currently out of the playoffs right now.
Right.
So that's also something to take note.
Mike, I want to know your thoughts on this. I know you're going to try to talk yourself out of this. We made such a big deal on how important it was that these kids live up to the responsibility to their university, to their fans, to themselves for these all-important mid-level bowl games. And then they cancel one last night. I get it, lightning, safety first, yada, yada, but they just flat-out cancel it. What's your thoughts now on all the fans and parents and the importance of those bowl games?
I'm not for sure how canceling a bowl game for player safety has to do with the players sticking out for that final game.
Oh, so you have a problem? You have a problem with a player choosing? That's your problem, Mike. You have a problem with the player choosing to be safe on his own. But if the committee or if a ref decides it's safe for the player, you're okay with it. But if a player decides to assess his own level of safety, now you have a problem with it?
Are you being serious? Like right now? Like,
are you asking? I think that's a serious question, honestly.
Are you asking 80,000 people to sit in the stands in the middle of a lightning storm to watch a game to risk them all getting killed?
Why do you get mad when one person wants to be safe? When one person says, you know what, that is not a safe. Because let's be real, we've proven it's actually more likely that you die from a football game than get struck by lightning. So
I'm not for sure how we've proven that, but okay.
Just look at all the deaths that occurred from either one game or let's not even say death. You're actually more likely to tear your ACL than you are to get struck by lightning. We can run numbers all day, but how many lightning struck cases have been in the last year? I can probably name you at least 10 ACL tears.
I don't know because I don't keep track of lightning strikes. Like that's not on my to-do list.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't really understand. Yeah, I know the question that you're asking, Matthew. Is why do we get mad at the players for taking their own safety in their hands instead of relying on other people? But we're okay when I guess the authorities say, "Oh yeah, this is unsafe. Let's not do this."
I don't think I ever said I was okay with them canceling the game. I mean, it sucks. But how do you reschedule a game with people that are at a neutral site traveling from 1,000 miles away? Like, how do you reschedule that? You have empty stands at the end.
I mean, not to mention not to mention bowl games are also accessories. They're not. You didn't sign up to go to a bowl game. When you signed up to play those 12 or what if your conference have the occasional 13 game season, that's what you signed up for. Once you live up that obligation, I really don't really care if you live up the obligation anyways, because we all can switch jobs anytime we want, whatever best fits us. But we're telling kids, oh yeah, you need to be committed to that school and you need to stick it out. Like, that just don't make any sense to me when I have $40 million on the other side as long as I stay healthy.
Well, if
that don't make any sense.
If you want to go that route thing, I work at a job that like if you go back to school and you get XYZ, they will pay for you to go get to go get XYZ, but you have to work there for 6 months or you have to repay them back. So that's exactly what this college thing is we are helping you go get that NFL full $40 million contract.
They don't care about that, Mike. They don't care about that.
Yes, they do. That is the
No,
number one recruiting.
If they cared about it, about it, they would allow these guys to get paid off of their autographs, off their likeness. That is the
NCAA not paying them. That is in the school or the coach. So
you think these universities care about these guys going to the NFL?
Yeah, that is their number one selling point.
So why do they get mad when guys sit out the bowl games?
They
we sit on TV and hear it all the time about these universities care nothing about these guys getting paid in the NFL. All they care about is bring money to this school. Because if they cared about that, Mike, I just have a hard time saying that they care about it.
They get mad about it.
Yes.
We're going to end the show there, but some closing thoughts. The odds of tearing your ACL is 1 in 10. The odds of getting struck by lightning is 1 in 700,000.
How is your odds of tearing the ACL 1 to 10? Like, how did they figure that out? So
it was a report by Dr.
If you are using if you're using that math, there is 10 ACL tears every NFL game.
I mean, they got to take on average. So there's been weeks where we'll have like 5 ACL tears
out of
1,000
players. How does that add up to 1 in 50 or 1 in 10 or how much you said?
Ask Dr. Andrews. But you're wrong. Hope you don't get your job.